Welcome back, and now telling you what happened at the Supreme Court today. A constitution bench led by the Chief Justice of India is hearing multiple petitions challenging the abrogation of special status of Jammu and Kashmir by the union government. During the arguments, there was a question that was asked by the CJI that when will elections be held in the union territory of Jammu and Kashmir? To which today the Solicitor General said, "We are committed to restoring statehood, but no clear timeline can be given." The Solicitor General argued that the process of restoration of normalcy involves countering terrorism. It also involves making sure that the tourism activities have taken a step forward, and more importantly, the peace and development agenda is further taken forward. With all of those arguments, the centre did not give any clear timeline, but reiterated that restoration of statehood is of utmost importance. After that statement, the parties in the valley, including the NC, PDP and the Congress, have taken pot shots at the government and said, how can rights of voting, how can democratic rights be suspended in this manner? The BJP or the union government argues that it is necessary, keeping the special conditions of the UT in mind, that these steps had to be taken. Is that plausible? What was said in the Supreme Court today, does it really cut ice? And going forward, how soon can statehood really be restored in the present union territory of Jammu and Kashmir? Our focus on viewpoint.
जब भी इलेक्शन हो हम उसके लिए तैयार हैं। तो इलेक्शन कमीशन जब डिक्लेयर करता है उसके लिए प्रॉपर जो टाइम दिया जाता है वो करने के बाद सब संभव हो पाएगा।
ये वेलकम स्टेप है कि अगर वो चुनाव अनाउंस करते हैं, जब तक चुनाव अनाउंस नहीं हो तब तक गैसिंग होगी।
We would see the Election Commission of India and the Government of India throwing the ball in each other's court.
Can you give me a date? If you are so satisfied, can you give me a date? I did not find a date. If your TV company has found a date, please let me know also.
Well, let's take this question forward. The statehood of Jammu and Kashmir, the Home Minister on the floor of the House, Home Minister Amit Shah, had pointed out that the doing away of Article 370, a special status, and making it a union territory is only a transient step. The larger goal of the government is to restore statehood. That will happen. Timeline, once again, has not been given to the Supreme Court of India. That notion or that assertion has been made. Let's take that question to our guests as well. R.P. Singh, the national spokesperson of BJP, Najmu Saqib, who's the spokesperson of PDP, Aarti Tikku, who's the founder and editor-in-chief in the New Indian, is also joining us on the broadcast. Mr. Najmu Saqib, taking this question to you first. Open the debate for us. The centre was very clear and categoric today. There were numbers that were presented that I can also read out to you if you want, that the terrorist activities, the number of stone pelting instances and the overall security situation in Jammu and Kashmir is better compared to the last 10 years. And this process just doesn't stop at internal security within the valley. But it's also about ensuring that economic activity, tourism activities, they are taken forward. And that process is going to take some time. And that's when we'll have elections in the state. Why is that response not satisfactory for you and your political party?
Look, Anusha, there are two aspects of the question that you asked. One is the constitutional question that Supreme Court is looking into. The second is the policy decisions that this government has taken. Look, let's take it step by step. First, about a constitutional issue. Look, Supreme Court is not discussing whether 370 brought normalcy and peace to Jammu and Kashmir. There's a basic question before Supreme Court. Whether the abrogation of 370 and 35A, was it legal, was it constitutional or unconstitutional? That's a simple question. Rest, it does not matter whether it has brought normalcy or not. That's a different debate. That's a policy decision. Now, coming back to the policy decision, as you said, it has brought economic activities. Look, the unemployment level in Jammu and Kashmir is highest in the country right now, right? That's number one. Second, you can check any number of reports, any government policy, any government, employment process that was started, a scam was found. It feels like the government is on standstill. Nothing is moving. I mean, Aarti is here. I don't want to. I mean, obviously, she will. She knows things a lot better than I can say. But she knows that it's a complete paralysis of governance in Jammu and Kashmir right now. Nothing is moving. You have an IAS officer alleging that there was a 13,000 crore Jal Jeevan mission scam, and not as no one has been held accountable right till now. So look, there are a lot of things on security front. We had just few days back in Kulgam, in Halan, three army personnel were ambushed in Rajouri and Punch districts that were declared militancy
But
free.
Najmu Saab, 1 second. But all these issues or all these problems, you argue as if they did not exist when the special status of Jammu and Kashmir was in force. In fact, the situation was far worse. I can talk to you about the Roshni scam. I can talk to you about various other scams that have happened when the article was much in force. I can read out to you the data and numbers. 1 second, sir. I'm coming back to you. Sir, I'm coming back to you. Sir, I'm coming back to you. Sir, I'm coming back to you.
Because you're on national TV and you're a responsible person, you cannot say that it was a scam. Look, Roshni was an act passed by the Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir. It was not a scam. No court has proved it that it was a scam till now. So you cannot call it a scam. It was passed by a legislative assembly with consent of all those elected members of that assembly, including the members of BJP at that point of time. So don't call it a scam.
I have read the order that was passed by the High Court. So 1 second, you made a point. At least listen to my point.
Not the orders.
At least listen to my point. I have read the order that was passed by the High Court, and you're right, it was an act that was passed by the government concerned then. The allocations that had happened under that particular act were a scam. That's what the court said. Yeah, but you said that was not a scam. That's what I was getting to. But it was a scam.
Delhi will come and say that
Coming to the moot point. Are you arguing that under the erstwhile governments in the erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir, there were no instances of stone pelting, there was no law and order situation, there was no internal infighting that was happening, or there were no scams that were happening?
We have that in Jammu now, unfortunately. We have effigies of Lieutenant Governor being burned in Jammu. We have, people removing their nameplates from their homes. BJP functionaries removing their names from their homes in Jammu. We have a mass resentment in Jammu. The level of resentment is such that even BJP does not want to go for elections. That is the level of resentment.
Let me bring in Aarti Tikku and Mr. R.P. Singh into the discussion. Mr. R.P. Singh, why is the government reluctant to give a clear timeline even when the Supreme Court has asked for it?
Well, there is a process, and the process is the delimitation process has just finished, and after that, obviously, the rest of the things will follow. The state election will also happen, and also earlier, the elections for the local bodies happened there. And the problem with PDP, who used to say that we won't contest election till the time 370 is come back or 35A come back, but they contested election, they lost badly because they know that they have lost the ground now. They are the local leaders who are standing and showing them the mirror today.
One at a time. Najmu Saab, I'll come back to you. Let me, Mr. RP, I'll give you the opportunity. You retort to the argument he's making. Everybody has the right to make their arguments like you have. Mr. RP Singh, make your point.
Not lie.
Najmu Saab, nobody is sitting in judgment who's lying and who's saying the truth. Everybody is here to make arguments. Let's not get into a personal argument here. Mr. RP Singh, make your argument, then I'll go back to the other guest as well.
Najmul Saab, just now you were caught live on the camera. You said there was no scam in Roshni scheme. It was a complete scam itself. The way the allocation was done for certain privileged guys, certain privileged families. So it was a complete scam.
Let's wait for our turn to speak. Let's wait for our turn to speak. No.
Calling something scam does not make it a scam. It was an act passed by the assembly.
Sir, don't make that argument convoluted. All of us understand that Roshni was an act passed by the assembly. The allocations done under the Roshni were a scam. That's what I have said, and that's what I'm reiterating. Aarti Tikku, please come into the discussion. Aarti Tikku, please come into the discussion, and let's get this discussion back to the moot issue.
Well, just not fair, Anushka.
Sir, Anusha, my name is Anusha. With due respect, I'll come back to you. Let Aarti Tikku also get into the discussion. Aarti, restoration of normalcy in Jammu and Kashmir. Is there real work that has been done on the ground?
Anusha, absolutely. But before I respond to your question, I want to get to the main subject that you have posed today in your program. The issue really is that has Kashmir been a normal state since 1947, since Jammu and Kashmir became part of the Indian Union? Absolutely not. Kashmir was not a normal state. And in 2019, on August 5th, Prime Minister Modi's government finally reset and recalibrated the historical wrong that had been committed by granting Article 370 to Jammu and Kashmir in the Indian Constitution. That position, that situation has changed since 2019. Now, the question before the Supreme Court, of course, is this time enough? Or since 2019, has the situation in Kashmir changed and the environment become conducive for elections? Has the environment in Jammu and Kashmir become conducive for every institution, everything, every channel, every mechanism, and every institution that functions in a democracy? And if I were the government, if I were, presenting the government's point of view, I would say that from 2019 August 5th, Jammu and Kashmir, especially Kashmir Valley, which behaved like a very abnormal entity in the Union of India since 47, is now finally back on track. But does it mean that today it's completely prepared for the next step, which is elections at the Legislative Assembly level? I would say no. But the fact is that Jammu and Kashmir since 2018, in fact, has been more democratic than it has ever been in the last 75 years.
What are the parameters on which you argue that?
Yes.
Substantiate that.
Yes. First of all, the panchayat elections. Can you imagine the decentralization that we talk about in India? We keep asking, we keep reiterating that democracy must go to the last man, last citizen in this country.
Okay.
And Jammu and Kashmir was deprived of that. Panchayat elections in 2018, massive
Point number one.
turnout.
I've taken 1 point.
And
yes.
Point number two, Block Development Council elections. Again, a huge democratic exercise where people at the local level, at the ground level have been involved. There is activity. Point number three, if you notice that in the last 4 years, since 2019, you don't see people coming to the streets, pelting stones, asking for Azadi, asking for Pakistan.
And this data was also presented to the Supreme Court today by the Solicitor General of India. Mr. R.P. Singh, you were interrupted earlier. And my question to you was about the fact that why couldn't the government give a clear timeline when it comes to the restoration of statehood and conducting elections? I agree with RTG that Panchayat election or the BDC elections are very important, but they cannot be at the place of assembly elections. It's very important to restore statehood, to have elected leaders at the state level as and when the statehood is re-granted. Mr. R.P. Singh.
Well, I'm saying the elections will be held. I mean, it's just a matter of time. The process of delimitation has just got over, and then the next step is elections only. But you can't just wish away the things which has happened. I mean, you can't just say that elections, DDC election, I mean, they were contested, and then we won 75 seats out of some 228 seats. So, and then rest of them managed the rest of the numbers, and in which big number was independent also. So the problem is that the democracy is there on the root level. Now assembly has to happen. So with little more, and sorry, the gentleman was talking about employment also. I have to answer that. 1 crore 80 lakh tourists came last year. Do you think that would not created the employment opportunity in Kashmir? It has created a lot of employment opportunity in Kashmir, the highest ever. I mean, we have never heard that 1 crore 80 lakh people would have gone to Kashmir. So things are changing on ground, and law and order is much better. Architiku just now told you that we have not heard about stone pelting. Now we just hear about national flag being there in every household now.
Yeah.
So there's such thing. So things are changing now, So it's matter of
Mr.
time. I mean,
Mr.
elections
Najmul
will happen soon there.
Okay, Mr. Najmul Saqib, you're free to make the arguments, and I'm sure there are a lot of points on which you want to rebut your fellow panelists. My question to you is that when it comes to the special status of Jammu and Kashmir, the people of Jammu were always opposed to that particular article in the Indian Constitution, and the people of Jammu had argued that in fact this is the article that should be done away with. This is not something that the people of Jammu really agree with. The restoration of special status is also a demand of certain parties, political parties within the valley. It does not resonate with the sentiments of the people of Jammu. And I ask you this question because you were talking about what is happening in Jammu right now. So are really political parties like yours in sync with what is happening, and what are the aspirations of people of Jammu? Saqib sir, please go ahead.
Well, look, I think first I would want to correct, some facts, that have been mentioned earlier. The first municipal election, urban local body elections that were held in Kashmir was in 2015. The panchayat elections were held in 2011 and 2018. So I think it's not for the first time, when you talk about deepening of democracy, I think we need to highlight the facts that when these, devolvement of powers to the grassroots levels, I think this was a continued process, and it started from 2005 onwards when the first urban local body elections were held in 2005. That's number one. Number second point, coming to Jammu. Look, we have a serious issue. People of Jammu are not happy. Let's not internalize our own propaganda. Let's not believe in what we want to believe in, right? You want to live in a make-believe world, and then you believe, you're in that reality. Jammu consists of Punch. Jammu consists of Rajouri. Jammu consists of Badarwar, Doda, Kishtwar. Ask people there. Jammu is not just one district of Jammu, right? It's a substantial population that lives in Punch Rajouri, that lives in Pir Panjal, and that lives in Chenab. So that's a delusional fact. Look what is happening in Punch Rajouri, a revival of a kind of militancy that we have never seen. Militants killing security forces, and no one is getting killed. No one knows who they are. No one knows their faces. No one knows where they're coming from. Who supplies them?
I am surprised, Najmul Saqib, that you're not talking about the facts and figures. I'm giving you the floor. The floor is yours. You can make your argument, but listen to my interjection. These are facts and figures that have been cited by the government in the Supreme Court of India, and the government is on record to say that there has been a reduction in the infiltration attempts by 90%. The terrorist instances have gone down by 45%. Yes, the problem is not completely solved, but in the last 3 to 4 years, this is substantial progress that has been made in the overall security situation, and it's not a small feat.
Look, I'll tell you, people of Kashmir have never been this farthest from Delhi as they are now, especially post 2002, right? I'll tell you very honestly. You might want to believe in you might want to believe in your own propaganda. What government sort of.
It is very convenient to call whatever we don't agree with propaganda. It is very easy. I reiterate.
I think my good friend would appreciate if we talk about a lot of substantial issues, because this concerns a very strategic state.
I think quoting numbers and telling you about what the government has said on record in the Supreme Court of India is substantial. And I reiterate, whatever doesn't suit our reality is a propaganda. Make your argument.
Post 2019. I think that's a number that we need to look at. The number of minorities killed, the targeted assassination. So we have not seen that post 2002. So I think let's
I don't think I don't think you have a substantial point to make there. To be very honest, Aarti, I give you the closing comments. Aarti, I give you the closing comments. The aspirations of people of Jammu have often not been taken on record, and many argue that this is a very valley-centric approach, a discourse dominated by certain political parties that has always hijacked the mainstream, that is done away with, and hence we are able to make successfully certain strides on the law and order front, on the economic front. But a lot needs to be done, and today the government was not able to give a clear timeline.
Well, Anusha, the fact is that for 70 years and more, the entire approach to Jammu and Kashmir was really Kashmir-centric. And it was not just Kashmir-centric, it was actually just 3 families. It was the Abdullahs, it was the Muftis, and of course the Gandhis in Delhi. And that approach has fundamentally changed in 2019. Now, you may say that Jammu, some people are protesting in Jammu, but honestly, if you look at the history of Jammu's political movements, anybody can check. It's not it's in public domain. The biggest resentment in Jammu had been through several movements that Jammu has been discriminated against, that Jammu's voice is nowhere. Even in the news platforms, it was always about Kashmir. So finally, when we have a Jammu and Kashmir Union territory today and funds, resources are being distributed equally, you think people in the villages, people, for example, in the upper reaches of Jammu, Poonch, Rajouri, Doda, will be unhappy about the situation, who have been facing the brunt of a discriminatory approach to J&K. Also, I would say that panchayat elections, yes, they were held, but panchayats in Jammu and Kashmir earlier had zero power.
No,
The
and
only people who
Aarti,
had power.
these points about panchayat election, the block development council elections, and various other grassroots level electoral steps that have been taken were highlighted by the government. But more importantly, in the days to come, what we need to see is at the Supreme Court, does the court persist with having a timeline about restoration of statehood? And in the days to come, as and when this hearing wraps up about the constitutionality of the move, the top court of the country will have the final word. With that, it's a wrap on this edition. Thank you all for joining us on the broadcast. Plain Speak follows.